At the same time, turning to Israel, all eyes there, there's some video actually going viral in right-wing circles in Israel, calling out the government for allegedly retreating. So this is some video that emerged from inside of Gaza, and it shows the Golani Brigade. It's kind of a famous military unit inside of the IDF, cheering as they're actually leaving Gaza. And the interesting part about it is it's a major question about what the actual plans for post-war occupation look like, how exactly they're going to spin this inside of the country. So, for example, guys, if we can go to the next part already, which is an Israeli news outlet. It's Ynet. We've used them before. Excellent news outlet outside of Israel. And their headline here is that the IDF's 36th Division ends Gaza deployment in a major troop reduction. Military is saying that the division, including the brigade, the Golani Brigade, will leave for a period of training before then deciding whether it should resume operating in Gaza. So I'm curious what you make of this, Ryan. Is it a sign of things going badly? Is it a sign of things going well? Is it trying to get the hell out of Dodge so that you don't have to get stuck with occupation? You can stick big ol' Uncle Sam with that job. What did you make of something like this in the context of the broader military environment?
Yeah, and it was announced, Israel announced earlier that they were going to be withdrawing some troops so that they could be sent back into the Israeli economy, and others so that they could train and then potentially return. It is a signal that, the ground invasion is not going as quickly and smoothly as they would like, but it also is a reflection of just the material limits to 7 million people going at war with 7 million people.
Yeah, good point.
Like if you are Israel, you're trying to run an entire economy and country, which requires a civilian population, and so a mass mobilization of hundreds of thousands of people is not sustainable over the long term. It's not even sustainable kind of over the medium term. Plus, look at what has become of Gaza. It's this dystopian kind of, just miles-long piles of rubble. If you look at the videos that the Qassam Brigades puts out,
this is the Hamas.
This is the Hamas military
We played some
wing.
of their videos here. Yeah.
You can see how difficult an invasion would be. You are sitting ducks as you're walking through these areas, whereas Hamas can go in and out of the different buildings, go into their tunnels and out of them. You can drop as many 2,000 bombs as you want on civilian populations, but if it only takes a couple of guys with an RPG against a tank or against a troop concentration, you're going to be taking losses that are unacceptable to the Israeli public and unsustainable to an Israeli economy.
We found this, look, Battle of Mosul, Syrian Democratic Forces, Battle of, whatever their capital was.
Fallujah.
Ramadi. I mean, we've spoken, about this ad nauseum in terms of urban combat. You can see every video.
And the one that ISIS couldn't take from the Kurds.
That's, I forget exactly what it was.
That's the question for Netanyahu and the IDF and the Israeli people, as we're testing right here, is do you want that?
Yeah.
And does it make you safer?
Yeah.
So it's one thing for the United States to do that in Fallujah or Mosul. It's another thing for Israel to do that right next door. And when you're looking at these videos of Gaza right now, and Israel says that they're actually not even on the same page. Their own government's not on the same page about what their end goal is in this war. They're not on the same page with the government that they are relying on to prosecute this war. Joe Biden says his end goal is a two-state solution. Netanyahu and the people he relies on in his coalition say absolutely not, no two-state solution. So this is the rubber meeting the road, because do the Israeli people think that it makes them safer? And do they want to, in mass, does the Israeli, the population of Israel in mass, do they want to sacrifice as many young Israelis as it would take to do a full-scale invasion of Gaza? And then what does that accomplish? What is their consensus about why they sacrificed all of those fighters to do a full-scale invasion of Gaza? The fact of the matter is nobody knows. Nobody can get to the same page about what the goal would be. Is it to eradicate Hamas? Okay, what is the metric for eradicating Hamas?
Or rescue the hostages.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good point.
That's
a good point.
Some of this too, because this is very important. Let's put this up there, because there was a news announcement just yesterday that actually 3 of the Israeli hostages, according to Hamas, have been killed by the IDF in airstrikes. Now, look, we don't know whether that's true or not. They are shown videos of them previously. Whether and how they were killed is going to be, unless eventually their bodies are recovered. the only thing I think we could take from this is that at this point, we saw a major rally in Israel. We played some of the video yesterday for the hostages. Hostages are a very emotional, very important issue inside Israel. The fact is they haven't saved a single one, and that's a problem for them. I mean, I can't imagine.
Rescued hostages have said that they
were
felt
being
as though,
bombed.
exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, look, when Hamas says it, it's easy to discount it, but when I hear, and I wouldn't even necessarily, you know, you don't take anything at face value, but when those people have been released, they're like, I literally heard the bombs above my head. You're like, well, that's a pretty dicey situation. And to this point, and this kind of gets exactly to what you're saying, Emily, put this up there, please. The defense minister of the war cabinet actually stormed out of a meeting with Netanyahu. This is something Krystal actually flagged for us, because the reason why it's hilarious is that he apparently stormed out over some petty issue where he was told his aides could not come in the room, but then Netanyahu brought like 5 of his aides. The most classic bureaucratic situation ever. But it's just like, when you're fighting like that in the middle of a war and for a war cabinet, you're like personality conflicts and all of that come to the fore, then you're not united in a goal, both in the immediate and the medium and the long term, because they all hate each other. And this is just breeds just general instability in the country.
Yeah, and they're huge internal rivals.
Yes.
So this is that bubbling to the surface. Yes, it goes to how deeply unsustainable all of this is. Obviously, Israel's tourism economy is completely
shot
in the toilet.
Right.
The blockade has meant that the port of Eilat has basically no ships in it, and the civilian populations that were living down in the south, in the Negev, and in the north, up by Lebanon, are now basically like internal refugees living with family, friends.
That's right.
Found
huge
other
internal displacement in
apartments
in Israel. Yeah.
And you hear from Netanyahu, this is going to go for many, many months, because Netanyahu, needs it to continue going, because politically and legally he faces potential prosecution if he leaves office, and so it's in his interest and his interest only to continue this. Everyone else is like is suffering from this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, to your point, he has a coalition that he has to keep happy, and so they actually. It's the opposite for them. You have a lot of discontent with how Netanyahu has proceeded in the war, but they want him to go harder and further, and that becomes untenable.
Yeah, and just final thing I'll mention here, we got the Congressman Ro Khanna on standby outside, but we wanted to just wrap with this. Unfortunately, there's actually been a terrorist attack inside of Israel just yesterday, kind of reinforcing some of the future problems that might await them. Put that up there on the screen. A woman was killed, 17 others were hurt in a suspected car ramming attack. This was, 2 Palestinians who were actually from the West Bank arrested in a city about 12 miles or so north of Tel Aviv in the capital. Don't forget, there's a significant Palestinian population inside of Israel. What do they think about it? There's definitely a lot of disparate polling. Yeah, they can't say anything, but every once in a while, people are going to act out. So it's not, the things are in more of a powder keg. I think right now, both regionally and inside the country, they're trying to make major decisions about their military strategy. So lots of things that are up in the air. As I said, we got the Congressman Ro Khanna, who is here on standby. We're going to talk to him about Yemen, UFOs, and more. Emily, Ryan, I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us. It's always so fun to do this. I guess we'll see you in a week after New Hampshire.
But you'll see Counterpoints tomorrow.
I'm sorry. You'll have Counterpoints
Give us a plug.
Tomorrow. Of course. Counterpoints. Rate, subscribe, 5 stars. Send to your family. Send to your grandma.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.